Take a second and just look down at your keyboard right now. Whether you're sitting at a desk, balancing a laptop on your knees, or even just picturing the one you use every single day. It's a tool we completely take for granted, isn't it? I mean, you press a little piece of plastic, and instantly a letter appears on your screen. But the hidden magic behind how that actually works, the split-second journey from a physical push to a digital character, is absolutely fascinating. Welcome to our explainer. Today, we're going to uncover the incredible journey of a keystroke. All right, here's our roadmap for today's deep dive. We'll start with part 1, inside the physical press. Then, part 2, mechanical versus membrane keyboards. Part 3, capacitive and Hall effect. Part 4, decoding the keyboard matrix. Part 5, solving the ghosting problem. And finally, part 6, from scan code to screen. Okay, part 1, inside the physical press. Okay, let's dive into this. Every digital action you take on a keyboard fundamentally begins right here in the real world, with physical movement. Beneath your fingertips, the anatomy of a standard key generally consists of 4 main parts. First, you've got the keycap on top. That's the plastic piece you actually touch. Below that is a stem and slider mechanism, and its job is just to guide the key straight down. Next, you need some form of resistance, right? Usually a metal spring or a rubber dome that pushes back against your finger and pops the key back up to its starting position. And finally, sitting at the very base are your electrical contacts. Really, the whole point of this intricate physical setup is just to translate your physical push into a reliable electrical connection. Moving on to part 2, mechanical versus membrane keyboards. So, not all keyboards achieve this physical push the same way. When we compare membrane versus mechanical, the physical and sensory contrast is just huge. Membrane keyboards, that's probably what you have on your laptop or your standard office desk right now. They use these flexible layers and rubber domes. Now, to register a letter, you actually have to push the key all the way down, what's called bottoming out, to compress that rubber dome against a conductive trace. It's a softer, kind of mushier, and much quieter feel, and it gives you a lifespan of about 5 million keystrokes. On the flip side, mechanical keyboards give you that crisp, tactile, metallic click that, let's be honest, your office coworkers will definitely hear. Instead of a single rubber sheet, they use individual physical switches for every single key on the board. Inside these switches are what's known as gold crosspoint contacts. When the stem pushes down, these metal leaves snap together. And the best part? You don't even have to press the key all the way down to hit the precise actuation point. Because of this incredibly robust design, mechanical switches boast a massive lifespan. We're talking 50 to 80 million keystrokes. Which brings us to part 3, capacitive and Hall effect. Let's move into some even more advanced territory here, because surprisingly, not all keyboards even rely on physical metal-on-metal contact. Some use cutting-edge, invisible fields to detect your fingers. Capacitive keyboards operate a whole lot like the touchscreen on your smartphone. They actually have a pad underneath the keys that projects a uniform electrostatic field. So when you press a key, you're actually bringing a conductive object, your bare finger, close to that field. Your finger draws some of the electrical charge, the keyboard detects that change, and boom, it registers the press. It requires almost zero physical pressure, but because it completely relies on the conductivity of your body, well, try typing while wearing a pair of thick winter gloves. It completely fails. And then we have Hall effect switches. And honestly, these are just brilliant. Instead of metal contacts, there is a tiny magnet embedded right inside the key stem itself and a Hall effect sensor sitting on the printed circuit board beneath it. As you press the key down, the sensor continuously reads exactly how close that magnet is getting, all in real time. Because it's tracking the full travel path rather than just a single binary on-off contact point, there's absolutely zero debounce delay. Even cooler, you can dynamically adjust the exact point the key activates in your software settings. You can literally customize it per key without swapping out a single piece of hardware. It is absolutely wild that you can completely alter how key behaves digitally without ever touching the physical switch. All right, part 4, decoding the keyboard matrix. We are now transitioning fully from the physical press to the electrical realm. And that brings up a massive engineering problem, doesn't it? A standard keyboard has well over 100 keys. So how do we connect 100+ keys to a microprocessor without needing 100+ individual, messy wires? The elegant solution is the keyboard matrix. It's essentially a grid arrangement of electrical rows and columns. Think of it like a coordinate system, or even a grid of city streets. The traces on the top sheet of the keyboard form the rows, and the traces on the bottom sheet form the columns. When you press a key, you are simply completing a circuit at one very specific intersection on that grid. Now, to read this grid, the keyboard's microprocessor performs what's called matrix scanning, and it's basically playing a microscopic high-speed game Battleship. The processor applies 3 volts to a single column. It then reads all the rows to see if any of them are receiving that 3-volt signal. If not, it turns that column off, moves to the very next column, applies 3 volts, and checks the rows again. So when you press a key down, you bridge a specific column and a specific row. The processor correlates the active column with the row receiving the voltage, and bingo, it knows exactly which intersection, and therefore which key, was pressed. And the speed of this process? Just mind-blowing. The microprocessor sends these 3-volt pulses to each column for just 65 microseconds, literally cycling through the whole board once every 4 milliseconds. Your keyboard is searching that electrical grid thousands of times before you even finish blinking. Part 5. Solving the ghosting problem. Okay, but here's where things get a little tricky. This incredible grid system has a critical, fundamental electrical flaw. I want you to imagine for a second mashing a whole cluster of keys simultaneously. Maybe you're intensely gaming, or maybe, you just accidentally dropped a heavy book on your desk. What actually happens in that electrical matrix when too many intersections are closed at the exact same time? Well, this triggers a really strange phenomenon known as ghosting. Ghosting is a matrix error where if you press 3 keys that happen to form 3 corners of a rectangle on the electrical grid, the current can actually flow backward through those closed intersections. This loop-in current tricks the controller into thinking the 4th corner of that rectangle has also been pressed, creating a phantom or ghost keystroke that you never actually touched. Spooky, right? So the crucial point is how standard keyboards actually handle this. To prevent sending a fake, phantom letter to your computer, the controller uses an anti-ghosting fix. And the fix? It simply ignores and blocks one of the real keys you actually pressed. It literally sacrifices a real input to stop a fake one from ruining the matrix. Which, by the way, if you've ever had your character in a video game suddenly stop running because he pressed too many buttons at once, yup, hit the nail on the head, that is exactly why. And finally, part 6, from scan code to screen. We have survived the matrix, and now we reach the final leg of our journey. We're escaping the physical hardware entirely and entering the computer's software. See, when the keyboard controller identifies that grid intersection, it does not send the letter A to your computer. Nope, it sends a scan code, a simple binary number reporting the row and column. That data goes into an operating system buffer, which is just a storage queue that holds the stream of bits and releases them to the processor at a manageable rate. Finally, the operating system uses a mapping table to translate that raw scan code coordinate into a digital character on your screen. And this brilliantly illustrates what we can call the plug-and-play illusion. Because the operating system is doing the translation, the character that appears on your screen is dictated entirely by software. It is completely, 100% independent of the physical plastic keycap you just pressed. To really hammer this home, there's a fantastic quote from the fundamentals of keyboard layouts. The keyboard and the computer each have no information about what is marked on that key, and it could equally well be the letter A or the digit 9. The keyboard itself has absolutely no idea what letters are printed on its own plastic keys. It only knows grid coordinates. It's just wild to think about, isn't it? That piece of plastic you interact with all day long is entirely blind to the alphabet. It's literally just a matrix of electrical switches waiting for your operating system to give it meaning. So I'll leave you with this thought to end our explainer today. If your keyboard doesn't even know what letters it holds, what else in your daily digital life is just a cleverly mapped illusion? Keep questioning the tech beneath your fingertips, and thanks for exploring with us.